All right. I am here again with another new friend. I was saying that day one, I invited like people I know really well. I was like, that's fun, but like I want to interview new people and get to meet new people. So I'm here with Desirée Aguirre, and she is the senior recruiter at Hims and Hers, which is awesome. Before I get started, though, I always need to just know, because we asked this question 1,000 times, but we never ask ourselves. Is this still a good time?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
I even had just sent you a text because I didn't know she was standing right behind. I thought we were late, which is why we had to cut off. And I sent you a DM that just said, "Does this time still work?" And I was like, "God, I'm such a fucking recruiter." Like, this is just like the classic 2 minutes. Like 2 minutes in, like, "Does this time still work? Do you need to reschedule?"
Right,
Like,
yeah.
where are we gonna go? Thank you for coming and
Yeah,
for sitting
of
down
course.
with me. I saw you at a conference in June. We both saw each other speak.
Yeah.
And then, like, classic, like, introvert recruiters didn't talk to each other while doing so, and just, like, stuck in with our own conversation. So I'm glad we got to sit down. I like to start with the breakdown.
Yeah.
Because recruiters are on the verge of a breakdown always. And today and yesterday for the breakdown, what I really like to talk about is RecFest, because we're here. We're here on day 2. How's RecFest been for you?
Yeah, it's been awesome. It's giving carnival meets conference vibes.
Is this your first one?
First one? Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it is that different feel. You've been to enough, I'm sure. Stuffy,
Yes.
Vegas conference room.
Yep.
Yeah, giant expo hall conferences. This is different.
Yeah.
The weather's nicer today.
Yes, it is. There's
Yes.
a nice kind of cool breeze coming in,
it's a
which has
little
been
breeze.
helpful.
It's not so hot. Do you see anything interesting on day 1 or 2 so far? Talks that are sticking with you?
Yeah, so I sat in some really interesting sessions. Like there was a session at the Innovate stage yesterday that was talking about like talent slate as a kind of a new metric, and in terms of looking at efficiency of the funnel and the quality of candidates coming through. So that was a really fascinating session that was hosted by Ford and Melissa Thompson.
I've heard that referenced a few times.
Yeah.
I missed it, but it sounds like people were hearing something interesting.
Yeah. So I really enjoyed that one. And then today, been kind of checking out some of the booths that I didn't get to stop by yesterday.
Today's
so
swag day. You have
today's
the
swag
bandana
day.
on.
Yeah.
I'm wearing a t-shirt. I don't even remember what company it's from. It's that day to go get all the swag. Yeah, awesome. That always is day 2. And day 2 is when they're just like hoping to not have to pack it up also.
Right,
And
yeah,
there's like,
exactly.
take 2.
Yeah,
I have
I'd
two
love to, yep.
2 chupacabras to bring back to my kids.
Oh, cute.
They were like, well, we can give you 1. I was like, I have to take 2 or 0.
Yeah.
I cannot come home with 1 of these. This is like when I come on these trips, everything is just like for my kids. I haven't bought them a souvenir on these trips in years. I'm just like, they have a bed full of branded stuffed animals.
Oh, cute.
And it's just like, yeah, these are real. I bought these.
Yeah.
Awesome. So we always love to hear from people. One of the things I love asking recruiters, because we all have the same stories with our own little kind of twist on them, and because recruiting is a nightmare, even though we do it and we show up anyway, I want to know, what is your recruiting nightmare story?
Yeah. So my nightmare story, this was many years ago. I was hiring for a role, and I had extended to an offer to a candidate that was, the panel loved her. She was a really strong yes. Upon extending the offer, she let me know she needed a visa sponsorship.
Okay.
And so, there was the moment of dread where you're like, oh crap, like, did I forget to ask questions? Like, how did I get to this point and not know this information? And so I would say, obviously you're having kind of a panic moment, but you want to tell the candidate, work through this, like, let me see, what I can do. I wanted to get the information about the type of visa, took thorough notes of all the details, right? And then went back and was kind of, oh crap, did I forget to ask a question? I looked at my notes, asked the question. She had disclosed at that time that she did not require one. I looked at the application. She disclosed she did not require one. So I was like, oh. So then had to kind of, go to legal team, and it was a whole bunch of hoops and things to kind of jump through of like, what can we do? Can we sponsor this individual? Can we make it happen? And I would probably say it was maybe then like an additional week of just kind of figuring out details, and so then trying to keep the candidate warm at that time, and hopefully we don't lose them. And then unfortunately legal came back and said no.
Sure.
So that was a nightmare too, in terms of having to kind of like rescind that offer, which like I don't like having to do things like that.
To be fair, that rescinding is their fault.
Sure.
That was on them. Like, I know it sucks to do.
Yeah.
But like, that almost would make me more upset about the internal.
Yeah.
Like, because I know that no manager believed you.
Yeah.
I don't know your managers, but almost no hiring manager would have believed you that you actually like checked and made sure and like
Yeah.
looked and got tricked. Like
Right.
they go
Yeah.
right away to like the recruiter screw up there.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Which is probably what happened. But
Yeah.
yeah, that sucks.
Yeah.
Why do these candidates lie about
I know,
these things?
yeah, and especially like to go through so far through the
Yeah.
process and then kind of waste hiring manager time and so yeah, it's those types of things that kind of are sometimes out of our control that happen
Yeah.
in recruiting that are never fun.
Yeah. And you know what happened next? Well, I'm guessing what happened next too is that the team continued to not like future candidates because they wanted this candidate that they originally wanted, and just filling this role becomes so much harder.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
The worst. You're not going to turn sponsorship around that quickly for somebody.
Yeah.
So that does suck. And again, yeah, it's one of those things that we've all dealt with.
Yeah.
And like what I hear when I hear that story is I got anxious immediately because I know the first thought that I think every recruiter would have is just like, I forgot to ask.
Yeah.
I forgot to
Yeah,
ask them.
right,
They need it. Like I just didn't want to like assume, and then like to have the notes at least that shows you did is nice.
Yeah.
Proper documentation if you're listening. Document things. Write it down. I'm
Yep.
bad at that. Okay. That is a scary one. Now, I always ask, how big is your team?
So we have about 20 on the recruiting team at Hims and Hers currently. Yeah.
So you have a 20-person team. I'm sure you're all overwhelmed at all times.
Yeah.
Recruiting's hard, right? The reason I started the podcast and the newsletter and all these things I do is because I just like, I don't think enough people are just like talking to recruiters about like, yeah, it sucks right now for all these things. I've always said like, I don't want to talk to you about how to like make your funnel 15% more efficient. There's enough people telling you how to do that.
Sure.
Like, let's just like talk about the truth here. How do you cope with it, right? Like a large team like that, being overwhelmed, company that has, I know Hims and Hers did a ton of growth in the very short term last year. It was last year, right?
Yeah.
How many people did you hire last year? Do you know? Just curious, because I know like how
gosh.
quick like Hims and Hers just like had to blow up like
Yeah.
last year.
Yeah. Offhand, I don't know,
Yeah,
but I mean, at least for this year, for the operations and high volume side, I
Yeah.
feel like we've probably hired about at least 200.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So even when
lot.
you say like a 20-person team, right? Like 200 hires is too many for a 20-person team. It's just like whatever the size is, there's too many hires coming. How do you cope with it, right? How do you cope and like build a community and like keep showing up?
Yeah. So we've really started to make our recruiting like team meetings more intentional. So changing the focus from like a short, weekly session to maybe doing like a bi-weekly session where we're having some learnings where we're, sharing our knowledge. For example, like we have some great sourcers on the team that are good at using AI. We have some members on the team that are really good with like reporting. And so using those sessions to share our knowledge, also highlight wins. So we've been starting to highlight, a team member who's doing a really solid job. Like I feel like you can never do enough of that. And some of that also gets lost, in the day-to-day, just the amount of hiring that we're doing. So that's been really nice. And then I think also starting to show our metrics a little bit more, like what is our North Star? What are we trying to get to? And, how do we get there together? Like what are some of the gaps we're trying to fill as well? So
Yeah.
yeah.
I love hearing like that. I last year I spoke at RecFest, and I remember a question from someone in the audience is like, how do we get recruiters and hiring teams like on board and have what's going on? And I remember I specifically said the same phrase. I said, share the wins. Right? Like where I worked at that time, we had a Slack channel just called All the Wins. And it was just like nothing was too small to put in there. And I don't think enough people do it, like you said, right? Like be the person at your company who just like calls out every good thing from people, right? Who says this sourcer got me 5 candidates today who were all amazing, and like she's doing an amazing job. I think sometimes people think like the win you share has to be like monumental, right? We filled this role and it went amazing, and not as simple as just like this little task was done and it was great. And people show up for that, and they remember the people who say it.
Right. Like we have a recruiting coordinator who's holding it down for the high volume side. I mean, she's a beast in terms of the amount of interviews she's scheduling, and just even highlighting, thank you for scheduling like 10 screens for me, and I know there's 5 other recruiters you're scheduling for as well. So things like that are important to call out.
Yeah. No, I love hearing that. And of course, right, just like events like this are so huge, right? Like I'm sure you have met so many people that you only knew from the internet.
Yeah.
Or things, right? And that's so fun. Or the one in June where it's even smaller. Like small events like this are great for that. I just think that like for recruiters listening and like who read the newsletter and all this stuff, like I push these events and conferences on them so hard. And I'm like, I'm not getting paid. Like, I don't get any like cut of like your ticket, but just like it changed my career, I think, when I started coming to things like this. And I just think that like so many of us now are like alone and working remote, or like, you know, you have a 20-person team, which is great. And so many recruiters are a 1-person team who just like, even in their own company, nobody in their own company even like sort of likes or respects them enough. And like everyone outside of their company hates them too because they're a recruiter. Like these events are where you like remember like, oh yeah, like we're all doing this.
Yeah. Exactly. We're all going through it together.
Yeah, amazing. I'm so glad you could join. I'm glad we got to sit down and finally talk in person.
Yeah.
You know, like I said, I think it was like June. I saw you. I told you before we started, but I'll tell them like I saw her giving a talk and she was on a panel, and there was someone on the panel who I disagreed with everything they were saying, and every time they said something I disagreed with, Desi responded with exactly what I would respond, or like wanted someone to respond. I was like, yes, her. Great. So I'm glad we got to sit down, and I appreciate you joining me.
Yeah, likewise.
Yeah. It was nice to meet you as well.
Yeah, same.
Enjoy the rest of the
RecFest. Thank you.
Yeah.
I hope to see you at a future RecFest and some other conferences as well. So I'm sure we'll see each other around.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.